Shavua Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perek Yud Aleph, Mishnah Gimel. Today's Mishnah should be Le'elu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Alayev, Eliyahu ben Burcha Yisrael, ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Le'avdi ben Chaim Lechaim, v'de Refuah Shelemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, and Mariana Miriam Chaya bat Tamara, betor Sheikh Israel. The Mishnah discusses the law for Yibum and Chalitza in cases where we are not sure of the identities of the dead husbands. The Mishnah begins, Chamesh Nashim shenitarvu valdotehen. 5 unrelated women, which the commentaries explain. The Mishnah chooses the number 5 simply as an example. The same rules would apply with any number of people. So 5 unrelated women each gave birth to a boy, and then their children became mixed up with one another so that none of the mothers can identify their baby. And each of these women has another son from the same husband whose identity is not in question. Higdilu atarovot, in the course of time the mixed up children grew to adulthood. V'nasu Nashim v'metu, and married, and then they died without children. Each widow now requires zibur mechalitza from her husband's brother. However, since we do not know who each son's parents are, it is impossible to match up each widow with her true brother-in-law. So the solution to this problem is as follows. Now, of course, before we say what the Mishnah says, the commentaries add, the Meiri writes, the easiest solution would be to have all 5 men perform chalitza with each of the widows. However, the Mishnah teaches a way that makes it possible to perform the mitzvah of yibum as well. Arba'a choltzin la'achat. First, 4 of the Yavams perform chalitza with one of the widows. Ve'echad me'abem ota, and the remaining Yavam may then perform yibum with her, because she is permitted to him in any case. If she really is his brother's widow, he is now performing yibum, and all is well. And if she is not his brother's widow, then he may still marry her, since she has definitely received chalitza from whichever man was her Yavam. Now the process must be carried out specifically in this order. First, the 4 men perform chalitza with one of the widows, and only afterward may the 5th man marry her in yibum. If he performs yibum before the other 4 men perform chalitza with her, there's a possibility that he is transgressing the biblical prohibition of marrying someone else's yavama. Next, he, the one who married the first widow, and 3 of the other Yavams perform chalitza with another one of the widows. And the remaining Yavam may then perform yibum with her. And this procedure is then repeated for the 3 widows that remain, meaning the 2 men who have already performed yibum join with 2 of the others, and they all perform chalitza with the 3rd widow. The remaining man may then marry her. Then the 3 men who have already performed yibum join with one of the other brothers and perform chalitza with the 4th widow, and the remaining man may then marry her. And finally, the 4 men who have performed yibum now perform chalitza with the last widow, and the 5th man marries her. It comes out that there are 4 chalitzot and 1 yibum being performed with each and every widow. Now the commentaries add that actually the same 4 men can perform chalitza with each of the 5 widows, and then the remaining men can marry all 5 of them. The reason our Mishnah does not suggest this is that it prefers an arrangement where each man may end up fulfilling the mitzvah of yibum. Where one of the men to marry all 5 widows, he alone will fulfill the mitzvah of yibum. Now, however, that each of the men marries one of the widows, all have a chance of fulfilling the mitzvah. And that is in the Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Dal now discusses another case of children who are mixed up, this time with an uncle and nephew, and explains how that affects the laws of yibum and chalitza. Ha'isha shenitarav vladah bivlad kalatah. A woman gave birth to a son, and her child became mixed up with the son of her daughter-in-law. So it's not known which baby is the uncle, the mother-in-law's son, and which one is the nephew, the daughter-in-law's son. And also, each woman has at least one other son whose identity is certain. Higdilu atarovot. In the course of time, the mixed-up children grew to adulthood. V'nasu Nashim v'metu, and married, and they died without children, so their widows require yibum or chalitza. However, we do not know which husband was the son of the mother-in-law and which one was the son of the daughter-in-law. We cannot use a solution given in the previous Mishnah because one of the mixed-up sons is the uncle of the other, and a man may not marry his uncle's wife, his father's brother's wife, as it says in Seva Vayikra, chapter 18, verse 14, and in chapter 1, Mishnah 3. The brother of the nephew is obviously a nephew as well, so if he performs yibum, he might be marrying his uncle's wife. So the solution is as follows. Bnei hakala choltzin v'lo miyabmin. Any one of the definite sons of the daughter-in-law performs chalitza with the two widows, but may not perform yibum with them, shu safek eshed achiv, because there is an uncertainty about each widow, whether she is his brother's wife who is permitted to yibum, safek eshed achi aviv, or whether she is his father's brother's wife, his uncle's wife, who is forbidden to him by the Torah as an elva. Because of this doubt, he may not perform yibum with either widow, rather he performs chalitza with both of them. Each of the widows must receive chalitza from one of the daughter-in-law's definite sons, because one of the widows was certainly married to the brother. However, these sons may not perform yibum with either widow, since it is unknown which one is their sister-in-law and which one is their uncle's wife, who is forbidden to them as an elva. However, once the daughter-in-law's son performed chalitza with the widows, any one of the definite sons of the older woman, the mother-in-law, may perform either chalitza or yibum with them, because the uncertainty for him is whether she is the wife of his brother or whether she is the wife of his brother's son, both of whom are permitted to him. Once the daughter-in-law's son performs chalitza with both widows, the one who was the wife of the nephew is free from her yibum bond and cannot remarry. So the status of the two widows is that one is the Yevamot of the uncle's brother and the other is free to remarry. Either way, they are now permitted to the uncle's brothers, the sons of his mother-in-law, because an uncle may marry his nephew's former's wife. Therefore, the mother-in-law's definite son can perform either chalitza with both widows, yibum with both, or chalitza with one and yibum with the other. Now, it's very recommended to look at the diagram brought down the article elucidated to this Mishnah. They map out exactly the scenarios to make it visually clear. Now the Mishnah continues with the variation of the previous case. In this case, the two sons who were mixed up remained alive, while the sons whose identities were known died. Metu aksherim. If the definite sons, literally the eligible sons, the Gemara in page 99b explains that this term refers to the sons of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law whose identities are known. Metu aksherim. If the definite sons married and died childless, and the only brothers they have are the mixed up ones, then bnei ataruvot, the mixed up sons must do the following. Since each of the surviving men definitely had a brother who died, both of them must perform either yibum or chalitza with the widows. Since neither of them knows whether he is the uncle or the nephew, neither can perform yibum with the widow of the definite uncle, since he might be marrying his father's brother's wife, who is forbidden to him. For the same reason, they must both perform chalitza with the widow of the definite uncle, to make sure she receives chalitza from whichever of them is really the yavam. So libnei askena, with the widow of the older woman's sons, meaning the widow of the definite uncle, chotzin v'lo miyavmin, the mixed up sons must perform chalitza and may not perform yibum. Shu safek eshed achiv ve'eshed achi aviv. Because for them the uncertainty is whether the widow is the wife of his brother, who is permitted to him in yibum, or whether she is the wife of his father's brother, who is forbidden by them. Because of this doubt, they may not perform yibum with her, rather they must both perform chalitza. Ubnei kala, and with the widows of the daughter-in-law's son, the widow of the definite nephew, echad chuletz ve'echad mi'abem. One of the mixed up sons perform chalitza, and the other one may then perform yibum, for she is now in no way forbidden to him. Neither one is allowed to perform yibum first, because if the one performing yibum is in fact the uncle's brother, he would be guilty of marrying a Yevamot before she received chalitza from Yavam, the nephew's brother. However, after one of them performs chalitza, the other may perform yibum, for if he is really the nephew's brother, then he is properly performing yibum. And if he is the uncle's brother, she already received chalitza from the other fellow who must be the nephew's brother, and it's not permissible for her to marry anyone. Again, there's a diagram brought for this case as well. Of course, both men may perform chalitza with her if they wish. The Mishnah is simply teaching a way of possibly fulfilling the mitzvah of yibum. And that is Rabbotai today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Shavua Tov. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.